Peace be upon you, friends. With you is your friend Darum. I ask you to support the channel by subscribing, liking, and posting motivating comments and an enjoyable viewing experience for you. Yund laughed hard, and at that moment I remembered her laugh. She was the woman I heard while I was locked in the library and whom Amar denied spending those nights with. Yund answered my question while laughing by saying, "I don't wait for your words, but you are different." I said, "Different? How?" She said, "I don't know. I'm not like other people I've met in my life." I said, "Maybe you haven't met enough people to judge me." She said, "Maybe." We spent hours talking. We talked about many things. She told me about her world, and I told her about my world. She laughed hard when I told her about our marriage system, especially when I told her about the difficulties that a young man faces in my country, especially if he decided to get married. She said while laughing, "We never think this way. Our marriage is different, especially for girls from large tribes like us." I said to her, "How is it different?" She said, "The daughters of tribal leaders do not have the right to choose, so you find that most of them choose lovers from devils and sometimes from humans in order to exercise their freedom that was taken from them because of these outdated customs." So I said to her, "Did you have a lover before, Amar?" She said, "No, because my father puts a lot of pressure on me and surrounds me with guards so that I do not lose sight of him. Therefore, I envy Jassar's freedom." So I asked her a question, and at the time I was afraid of her reaction to him. But I gathered my courage, especially after hearing her laughter, and I said to her, "I read in one of the blogs that your father exiled Jassar and punished him by chaining him to serve witches, and Jassar got rid of his shackles by killing the devil who bound him. Is this true?" She said yes, but Jassar did not kill that devil who bound him. He would not have been able to. Another devil must have helped him. So I told her, while I already knew that Dawn was the one who helped Jassar, as the cemetery guard told me. "Who do you think helped Jassar?" She said, "I wish I knew how to kill him." I said nervously, "Why do you want to kill the one who freed your brother from his chains?" She said, "Because Jassar returned to my father, gained his approval, and convinced him to forgive him on the condition that he kill that girl whom Jassar loved." I said, "Did he kill her?" She said, "Yes. He killed her, her family, and everyone around her on that bloody, fateful night. And he not only did that, but he also brought her head to my father just to gain his approval." I said, "What does your desire to kill those who helped Jassar have to do with what happened?" She said, "If he had not helped him, that poor girl and her family would not have died, nor would I have lost the love and attention of my father, who began to see me after that madman disappeared from the picture. With Jassar's presence in the clan, I completely disappear as if I did not exist." I said to her, "Do you care about that girl?" She said, "Frankly, no. But I do not like injustice because I know the meaning of injustice. I drink from his cup every day." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Do you think it is easy for someone to choose your life partner and force you to marry him and satisfy his desires against your will? Do you think it is easy for me to marry an old man like Amar against my will?" I said, "Couldn't you refuse?" She laughed out loud and said, "I'm beginning to doubt that you're a blogger." I was nervous and afraid that I would be exposed, so I said to her, laughing, "I'm just kidding." She stopped laughing and put her eyes on me and her hand behind my head and said, "When will the joking end, blogger, so that we can consummate our marriage?" So I got out of bed and said to her, "If you don't want to, Yund, I won't force you. I don't want my first relationship to be with someone who is forced to stay with me." I said that phrase while in my heart I said, I hope she is really forced and seizes the opportunity and leaves. But she grabbed my hand and said, "You are not like Amar. and I am no longer that devil who refuses to sleep with bloggers. Yund stayed with me that night, and we consummated the marriage. We spent most of that night awake, and my eyes did not fall asleep until shortly before dawn while Jund was stroking my hair. I didn't know why she cared so much about my hair, but I didn't mind. I woke up a few minutes before sunrise to the voice of a soldier on her way out, so I said to her, "To where?" She said, "I will leave now before the eavesdroppers arrive." I said, "Who?" She said, "This is your first night as a blogger, and every day before sunrise and sunset, you will hear some whispers and voices at your ear, and these voices will not stop until you write them down on paper." So I said, "How do I write it down when I have never tried before?" She said, "I know, so I warned you, and try not to think about the words you hear and just write them down without thinking in the blog related to our tribe." I said, "Where is she?" She pointed to that red book that I had been trying to open before, and when I turned to ask her another question, she disappeared. Heavy feather. After Yun disappeared, I started to put on my clothes, and during that time, Dajan came in to me as usual, smiling that yellow smile and saying, "What are you doing, groom?" I said to him sarcastically, "Why didn't you peek?" He said, "Brother, you have limited knowledge about our world." I said, "How?" "Explain to me." He said, "We cannot monitor whoever is a prophet, and some devils are immune to second-ranking devils, especially those lower in rank than them. I mean, you're being alone with a soldier. Yesterday, a lower-ranking devil cannot be around her because she senses him and slaughters him." I said to him, "How can you talk to me so freely? Aren't you afraid that one of the guards might hear us?" He said, "The guards, my love, cannot hear words if they are directed to them, and this is part of their job." I put on the last piece of my clothes and said to him, "What is your story with Jassar, and why did he not kill you?" Jassar said, "He is a crazy devil, and he does not remember anything of what happened between me and him, to the point that when I saw him the day I went to the gathering place of the Dunes tribe to ask them to protect me and you, he met me and said to me, 'Who are you and why did you come?' I knew that he was losing his mind and did not remember anything of what happened between us when I freed him. So I said to Dajan, 'Do you know that Jund wants to kill you?' He said in surprise, 'Why then?' So I told him the story that Jund told me, and he said, 'Do we have harem problems? Just don't worry about them and take care of yourself.' They were about to leave, so I told him, 'Wait, I have a question that has been on my mind for a while, and I don't know anyone who can.' The answer is someone else. He said, 'Tell me what you have.' So I said, 'Who is the man I met in the village on my second visit to Amar, who took me to his house and then followed me to take me to Amar's house?' Dajan's face changed and he said, 'What did I know?' I said, 'I have a feeling that you know him.' He said, 'Why do you ask, okay?' I said, 'Just a question.' He said, 'Forget the matter and try to forget these men.' I said, 'How can I forget him?' He shouted and said, 'Just forget him, brother.' Then he left and disappeared. Minutes after Dajan's departure, I started hearing those whisperings that Jund told me I would hear, and they were really very annoying and I couldn't get them out of my head. These voices were frequent, as if 10 people with different voices were whispering in my ear at the same time. I was going crazy, so I remembered what Yand said about writing down what I heard on paper so that the voices would stop. So I quickly went to the red book or blow and opened it until I reached a white page and grabbed the pen and tried to write. But nothing appeared on the paper, so I tried the same pen on my hand and my clothes, and it wrote easily. I went back and tried to write on the blog, but nothing appeared. I was trying to write while the obsessions were gnawing at my ears and mind until the headache began to disintegrate and destroy my head, so I started screaming, but no one heard or responded to me. After a while, I remembered that Amar was writing with a quill and an inkwell, and I had never seen him write with a pen. It's normal, so I went to the place where he kept the quill and inkwell, took them out, and started writing, and the letters and words actually appeared in front of me, and I remained focused on the white paper, writing and writing until the obsession stopped. We were in the winter season, and clouds always covered the sky. I did not know that it shone, except from its light, because it was covered by clouds for most of the day. The rain and the sound of its falling was a melody played every day on the roof of the house and on the edges of its windows. At night, I did not use electricity. Amar relied on the light of the lanterns and candles that he supplied with every time he went out. After I finished writing The Whispers of Dawn, I started browsing that huge blog and began reading in it, so that I would have more knowledge of those I was dealing with. I read in the blog a lot of news and events related to the Dune tribe, and I learned about some of their secrets and some influential events in their history, although what was written was not written in the traditional way of books. But at that time, I became familiar with this type of writing and got used to it and became able to draw conclusions from it. The knowledge and information I want. I read in the blog about Jassar's return to his father and how his father forgave him when Jassar brought the head of the woman he loved. He wrote in the blog that Jassar lost his mind after he killed her, but he was forced to do so in order to stop his father and his clan's pursuit of him and regain their respect that he lost because of his love for that girl. I also read about the bloody history between the Yaram tribe, nicknamed Alabataha, and the Dunes tribe, as well as the long and bitter conflict between the Dunes and the Saurim tribe, which is the tribe that was headed by Shand before Amar brought him in and overthrew his head, Maza, in his house. The blog talked a lot about the troubles of Abu Jassar, Jund, and the leader of the Dunes clan. Most of the obsessions came in describing his movements and heroism, while the remaining obsessions were distributed about the conditions of the clan. I searched the blog for information or stories about Jund, but I found little compared to what is written about Jassar and his arrivals and tours with human girls. The blog mentioned and spoke in some of its pages about a strong revolutionary looking for revenge against the tribe. The blog always described his movements and confrontations with members of the tribe, who were talking about him with fear and dread because everyone who confronted him was brutally killed. This revolutionary was nicknamed Malas, and many members of the Dune tribe were killed. However, it was not clear in the blog why he organized and repeated attacks on them, or what he wanted from them. My train of thought was interrupted while I was reading the red blog when Dajan came in around noon and said,